The red earth of Umakoro dusted the village's narrow paths, baking hard beneath the sun, but it never seemed to reach the back of Iya's compound. There, the soil was softer, and quieter almost, as if the footsteps of those who walked on it were too gentle to disturb the land. From the center of the compound, voices and laughter echoed, but behind the main house, in a humble mud hut shadowed by a sprawling mango tree, silence ruled. Amora pressed her ear to the wall as the sound of her father's booming laughter rumbled through the air. She could smell spiced stew drifting from the kitchen where her stepmother, Neka, fussed over the evening meal. Somewhere, beyond Obanuju and Iomaneka's daughters argued about beads and hair, their voices sharp and careless. But Amora's world was different. In her corner of the compound, her mother Ife moved quietly, her presence as soft as the dusk breeze. Tonight, as every night, Effie's hands brushed over the talking drum, a cherished relic from her own father, her fingertips drumming a gentle, pulsing rhythm that seemed to fill the little hut with warmth. "Come, Amora," Ife called, her voice low and melodic. "Bring your heart, not just your hands." Amora grinned, ducking through the doorway. "Teach me the song from your village again, Mama," she begged, settling beside her. Ife nodded, her dark eyes shining. "Let the drum speak. When you play, it's not only music, it's hope, it's memory." She showed Amora how to hold the drum, how to let her wrists loosen. "Like this, my child, let the spirit move through you." They played and sang beneath the mango tree, their voices rising with the night's chorus of crickets. It was the one place Amora felt she belonged. The rest of the world, her father's stern silences, Neka's icy stares, the mocking laughter of her stepsisters faded into shadow. Inside the main house, Neka peered through the window, her lips curling in disdain. "Look at them," she muttered to Aye, who only grunted, focused on slicing yam, singing like beggars, not even ashamed. "She is your co-wife," Aye reminded, though his tone lacked conviction. He barely glanced toward the mud hut. "My co-wife is a stranger," Neka snapped. "And her daughter, she be nothing unless you do something, husband." Aya shrugged, not wanting to argue. It was easier to ignore the small hut in the back of his yard than to face what grew inside it, loneliness and longing. As weeks passed, the division in the household grew sharper. Neka's daughters flaunted their bright wrappers and jewelry, their arms jingling with copper bangles. Amora learned to lower her gaze when passing them, to make herself smaller. Yet each evening after chores, she returned to her mother's side. Their music was a secret shield against the world, but shadows lengthened. One rainy season, Effie's laughter grew thinner. She coughed through the nights, sweat slicking her brow even as Amora fanned her and fetched herbs from the forest. The rain leaked through their thatch roof, pooling by the drum. Amora's heart pounded as she watched her mother fade. "Mama, please eat something," she pleaded, holding a bowl of broth. Effie managed a weak smile. "You are the song in my soul, Amora. When you play, I will always hear you wherever I am." Desperate, Amora ran to the main house. She burst in as Neka and Ia ate with their children, their laughter dying as Amora's words tumbled out. "Papa, Mama is very sick. She needs help. Please." Ia's brow furrowed, but his voice was stone. "Let her rest, Amora. If it is her time, nothing can stop it." Neka did not look up from her meal. "Don't bring your bad luck into this house." Amora stumbled back to the mud hut, tears blurring her vision. She tried every remedy she knew. She slept at her mother's feet, singing to her through the night. But one dawn, as rain pattered softly on the roof, Effie squeezed Amora's hand, her breath shallow. "Never let this world harden your heart, my daughter," she whispered. "Keep beating your drum." Ife's hand grew limp, and the world went silent. Amora's scream split the morning, but no one came. No proper funeral followed. Neka and Ia buried Ife behind the hut, without prayer or morning song. The mango tree stood watch, the only witness to Amora's grief. Time moved forward, but Amora's world stalled. Neka wasted no time. "From now on, you will earn your place here," she told Amora, her voice cold. "You will cook, clean, fetch water, sweep. You'll work until your hands bleed, or you'll eat nothing at all." Obanuju and Ioma grinned, handing Amora piles of laundry and pails of water. "Look at the orphan," they teased. "Go fetch firewood, slave." Ia, for his part, said nothing. Sometimes Amora saw him watching her with haunted eyes, but he never spoke. She became a ghost in her own home. Yet, Even as her body tired and her spirit frayed, Amora clung to the drum. She hid it under her mat, sneaking out at night to play for the stars, whispering songs only her mother would know. Each beat was a heartbeat, each song a prayer. One evening, while she played under the mango tree, she heard footsteps. She froze. Obaniju and Ioma emerged, arms crossed. "So, you think you're special?" Ioma sneered. "Your mother's gone, and you still play her stupid drum." Obaniju snatched the drum. "Maybe if we break it, you'll finally shut up." Amora's hands shot out, but the sisters only laughed, tossing the drum between them. Amora's tears spilled as she ran to her hut, curling up beneath her mat, clutching what little she had left, her mother's memory, and the hope that tomorrow she could endure. The next morning, as the sun climbed and the chores began anew, Amora repeated her silent promise. "No matter what, I will not let them harden my heart. I will play for Mama. I will survive." The days turned heavier, as if the sun itself conspired against Amora. The once warm light now beat down like punishment, scorching her back as she bent over piles of laundry, fetched buckets of water from the distant stream, and cleared weeds in the family's vast farmland alone. Neka stood in the shade of the veranda, sipping palm wine, watching Amora stagger under the weight of firewood. "You missed a spot," she called out sharply. "Again, lazy girl. Are you hoping someone else will clean for you?" Amora didn't answer. She lowered her head, blinked the sweat out of her eyes, and kept moving. Obaniju and Ioma trailed her like shadows. They no longer needed reasons to taunt her. "You smell like the goats," Ioma jeered. "Maybe she is one," Obaniju added with a laugh. "Papa should have sold her instead of keeping her around." Amora said nothing. Her silence was her armor, but that armor cracked the day. She was sent alone to clear the lower field, the one near the edge of the forest. The sun hung low but hot, and the land stretched wide, choked with weeds taller than her knees. Her hands, already raw from work, trembled as she gripped the hoe. She worked in silence for hours, her body slow, breath shallow. The horizon wavered in the heat, blisters split open. Her vision blurred, just as she staggered to one knee, convinced she might faint. A soft voice cut through the buzzing air. "Let me help you." Amora spun around. A woman stood just behind her. Not from the village Amora would have known her. She wore a simple white wrapper, her dark skin luminous in the sun. Her eyes were kind, steady, her smile gentle. I can manage," Amora said breathless, instinctively stepping back. "I insist," the woman replied, already picking up a second hoe from the ground, and then she worked. Not like any villager Amora had ever seen. The woman's pace was fast, fluid, graceful. She cut through weeds as if the earth obeyed her. In less than an hour, the entire field was cleared. Amora stood frozen, jaws slack. How did you?" The woman smiled again. "You work hard, you are patient, that matters. It's not something many see, but I do." "Who are you?" Amora asked, stepping closer. "I live near the forest, no family, but I've been watching you for some time. You remind me of someone I loved very much." Before Amora could ask more, the woman touched her arm lightly. "Go home, child, rest." Then, just like that, she was gone, vanishing into the shade of the forest trees. That night, Amora couldn't sleep. She lay on her mat, the moonlight sliding through the cracks in the thatch roof. Her drum was safe beneath her, and her fingers itched to play it, but her thoughts stayed on the woman. Who was she? Why had she helped, and how had she worked so quickly? Days passed. Amora said nothing to anyone, not even to the mango tree. She feared if she spoke the woman's name, she would disappear forever. Then, just as the memory began to feel like a dream, the woman returned. Amora was dragging water pots up the steep hill near the stream when her foot slipped, and she went sprawling, the pots shattered. Her heart raced. She knew the punishment that would follow. But before she could stand, the woman appeared again, helping her up gently and offering 2 new pots. "I don't understand," Amora whispered. "Why are you helping me?" The woman only smiled. "Because one day, you'll need to be strong enough to help someone else." She left as quickly as she came. These visits continued always when Amora was at her lowest. Sometimes the woman brought food, sometimes nothing but a hand to hold. She never gave her name. She never asked for anything, and each time, Amora grew stronger, not in body, but in spirit. One market day, a visitor came to the compound. Okafa, a wealthy farmer from the neighboring village, rode in with his servants. He carried baskets of yams, jars of honey, palm wine, and 2 healthy goats. He was there for one reason: marriage. "I have heard of a young woman named Amora," he said respectfully, bowing to Ia, hard-working, beautiful, kind. "I would be honored to take her as my wife." Amora, who had been pounding yam behind the hut, froze. She peeked around the corner, heart pounding. Her hands trembled with hope. Ia opened his mouth, but Nika stepped forward before he could speak. "Amora," she scoffed, "she is not ready for marriage. Who will wash clothes? Who will tend the farm?" Okofa frowned. "But I came with good intentions. She is of age. She is still needed here," Nika snapped. "Come back another time." Aya, as usual, said nothing. Okofa looked from one to the other. His disappointment showed, but he gave a polite nod, turned, and left. Behind the house, Amora sank to the ground. She had never even dreamed of marriage until that moment. And then it had been taken from her. That night, she played the drum with trembling fingers. Her song cracked with emotion, carrying sorrow into the sky. "You are not forgotten," the woman said. Amora looked up. She hadn't heard her approach. "I don't understand. Everyone looks past me, even Papa." "Not everyone," the woman said. "Your soul is seen. Your drum is heard." Amora swallowed hard. "I want to believe that, but it's hard." The woman crouched beside her. "You're stronger than you know. Keep walking. The road ahead will not be easy, but it will be yours." And before Amora could ask anything more, the woman vanished into the night, leaving only the scent of wild herbs behind. The seasons shifted. Rain fell harder. The trees burst green again. The world moved on, but something inside Amora had changed. She was still a servant in her father's house. Nneka still gave her the worst tasks. Her stepsister still tossed insults like stones. But Amora no longer bowed her head in defeat. Instead, she listened more closely to the rhythm of the drum. She memorized the patterns her mother had once sung. And when the world quieted, she played each beat, telling a different story, one that hadn't yet been written. She didn't know it yet, but the winds of Umakoro were starting to shift. The sound of royal horns echoed through Umakoro before anyone saw the horses. The entire village froze for a moment, every pounding mortar, every playful laugh, every voice fell silent. Then came the drums, loud, steady, deep dot. A procession of men on horseback appeared at the village gate, flanked by guards in scarlet sashes. At the center rode a tall, regal figure, draped in a dark embroidered wrapper, golden armbands gleaming in the sunlight. His head was high, eyes steady. This was Prince Obina, heir to the kingdom, newly returned from his years of study in the city. Children chased the horses, women gasped, and old men bowed low. From the compound, Nneka and her daughters scrambled to the doorway. "Look at him," Ioma whispered. "He's even more handsome than they said." Nneka's eyes gleamed. "He'll need a wife, a proper one. Someone graceful, talented, dazzling." She turned quickly to her daughters. "We'll begin training tonight. I want you both dancing like spirits and singing like birds." Behind them, Amora peeked out from the shadows of the kitchen hut. Her eyes locked on the prince's figure in the distance, heart thumping not from desire, but from something deeper, a feeling, a pull. That evening, the town crier walked through the village, beating his gong and shouting the royal decree. "In 2 weeks' time, all maidens of the land are invited to the royal palace. A grand celebration will be held. The prince shall choose his bride, not by beauty alone, but by talent, music, and spirit. All are welcome to perform." Cheers erupted throughout the village. Girls clutched their mothers. Friends began plotting. Costumes and routines dot in Nneka's compound. Celebration broke out instantly. "We must find a dance tutor," Nneka cried. "We'll use the market money. This is more important." Amora stood silently, her heart pounding. A small flame flickered inside her. She had never danced in public, but she knew music knew it like her own heartbeat. She wondered, could I go, just to try? She stepped forward, hesitant. "Nneka, may I join? I know the talking drum. Mama taught me." "I could." Nneka turned slowly. A cruel grin formed on her lips. "You," she laughed. "Join, do you think? This is a game. Girl, you'll embarrass the entire household. Look at you, your clothes, your hair. You're not a performer, you're a maid." Abanaju burst out laughing. "Maybe she'll perform her famous broom dance. She can bang a pot on her head and call it art," Ioma added, wiping tears from her eyes. Amora shrank back, her cheeks burning. Neka stepped closer. Don't you dare waste anyone's time with your nonsense. Focus on what you're good at, cooking, cleaning, and staying out of sight. But that night, after everyone slept, Amora crept outside with the talking drum hidden beneath her wrapper. Beneath the mango tree, she placed it on her lap, her fingers trembling. She closed her eyes and began to play. The rhythm started soft, then built. Her mother's lullabies, the ancient war songs, the playful cadences of youth, they flowed through her like rain through leaves. Her voice rose gently, singing in a phase dialect, carried by the night wind. She didn't notice the figure behind her until a torch flared to life. What is this filth? Amora spun around. Neka stood there, her face twisted with rage, her eyes wild. You dare perform in this house after I warned you. Mama's drumplies, Amora began. Before she could finish, Neka stormed forward and snatched the drum from her lap. No, Amora screamed, but it was too late. With a wicked smile, Neka marched to the kitchen, yanked open the kerosene jar, and poured it over the drum. She lit a match. Flames burst to life. No, stop, Amora sobbed, lunging forward. But Neka shoved her aside. The fire roared as the drum curled in on itself, blackened and cracked. The scent of burning leather and wood filled the air. That was the last thing I had of her, Amora whispered, knees buckling. Then let that teach you a lesson, Neka spat. You are nothing, and if you even think of stepping near that palace, I swear I'll bury you next to your dead mother. She turned and vanished into the dark. Amora lay on the dirt, the drum's ashes clinging to her fingers. The silence was unbearable. She didn't weep, there were no tears left, only a dull, hollow ache. Stand up, the voice came quietly, like a breeze through the branches. Amora opened her eyes. The woman was there again, wrapped in moonlight. Her expression was soft but steady. She destroyed it, Amora whispered. It was all I had. No, the woman said. What you have is inside you. That drum was your mother's. Yes, but your spirit, your rhythm, your voice, those are yours. They cannot be burned. I don't know if I'm strong enough. You are, the woman said simply. She reached behind her and held out a new drum. It was smaller, more refined, intricate carvings wrapped around its edged symbols from an older time. Take this, the woman said. Hide it in the forest. Come here every night. Practice. Let your spirit grow. Amora touched it, as if it might vanish. Why do you keep helping me? The woman placed a hand gently on Amora's shoulder. Because you're meant to shine, and because you're not alone even when it feels like you are. From that night on, Amora returned to the clearing deep in the woods. Under starlight, surrounded by trees and whispers of wind, she played, she sang, her hands bled, her voice cracked, but she grew stronger. Each rhythm became sharper, each movement more certain. The songs became her language, her strength. The drum answered her in ways it never had before. The woman would watch from the edge of the clearing, sometimes nodding in approval, sometimes correcting her grip or tempo with a quiet word. But mostly, she let Amora discover her own power. With every session, Amora left the forest a little taller, a little louder. The palace celebration was still days away, but something had already changed. For the first time, Amora no longer feared the fire inside her. She welcomed it. The day of the festival dawned with gold stretching across the sky, painting the village in light. From early morning, drums echoed through Umkoro, signaling the moment everyone had awaited. Girls rushed between homes in swirls of color wrappers, glinting with glass beads, hair braided with care, wrists jangling with bronze and coral. Every household buzzed with perfume and powder, laughter and nervous energy. But in EA's compound, behind the excitement, Amora was squatting beside a large calabash filled with palm nuts. Break all of them, Neka barked, tying a bright red wrapper around Ioma's waist. Before we return from the palace. And don't even think of showing your face there. Amora looked up, lips parting. Please, she said softly. I just want a chance to. Neka stormed over, grabbed her by the arm, and leaned in close. You dare speak, she hissed. You filthy disgrace. What will you wear those rags? You think the prince wants to see a broom girl with drum calluses and dust on her feet? Abaniju laughed behind her. Maybe she can sweep the courtyard for the palace guards. Ioma twirled, showing off her ankle beads. Don't worry, Amora. When one of us becomes queen, maybe we'll hire you as a kitchen maid. Amora swallowed hard, blinking back the tears. Ia stood silently in the corner. She looked to him once, just once, but he shifted his gaze and walked inside, and with that, the family left, their footsteps fading into the distance, their laughter like thorns in her chest. Amora turned to the calabash. Her fingers moved slowly, breaking palm nuts one by one. She felt nothing but the pressure in her chest, the ache, the humiliation, the burning injustice. The sun climbed high, and her hands moved, steady but numb. Then, a breeze swept across the yard. Sudden, a shadow fell over her. Amora looked up. There she was. The woman stood just beyond the tree, not smiling this time, but resolute. "Come," she said. "It's time." Amora hesitated, glancing down at her clothes, her rough hands. "I can't. Look at me." The woman stepped forward, revealing a woven basket in her arms. She knelt and opened it slowly. Inside was a folded wrapper of deep indigo, rich and vibrant. There were coral beads, glass bangles, a wooden comb, and a small vial of sweet-scented oil. "Go and bathe," the woman said gently. "I'll wait." When Amora returned from the stream, the woman was waiting beside the tree. She sat Amora down and began to work, parting and braiding her hair with quick fingers, rubbing oil into her arms, adorning her wrists and ankles with beads that clicked. When she moved, then came the wrapper, tied firm and elegant around her waist. The woman dusted her cheeks lightly with powder from a small gourd and handed her a mirror. Amora gasped. She didn't recognize the girl in the reflection. Her skin glowed. Her eyes shone with something fierce and steady. She looked royal. The woman retrieved the talking drum from a cloth bundle and placed it in Amora's hands. "Now go," she said. "Let your light shine." "But why are you doing this for me?" Amora asked again, voice breaking. The woman took her hand, looked deep into her eyes. "Because you were born to rise. Because your voice matters. Because love doesn't end at death." Amora embraced her tightly, not knowing why. Tears poured freely. Then, without another word, she turned and ran at the palace. The sun was high, the courtyard crowded. The king sat on a raised stool carved from ebony, the prince beside him in ceremonial blue, expression unreadable. One by one, girls stepped forward to perform, dancing, singing, spinning in circles. Obaniju performed a practiced dance, eyes fixed on the prince. Ioma sang a high-pitched tune she'd rehearsed for days. The crowd clapped politely. The prince smiled barely. Then came silence. A hush swept through the courtyard. Amora stepped forward. She held her drum close, shoulders back, heart pounding. Her wrapper caught the sun. Her beads swayed with each step. Murmurs rose. "Who is she?" "She's not from the main house. Look at her." Amora bowed slightly. Then, without another word, she sat on the ground, closed her eyes, and began to play. The drum pulsed like a heartbeat, soft, steady. Her fingers flew. Her voice followed. She sang not in the dominant tongue, but in her mother's dialect, a song of loss, of love, of longing, and survival. The rhythm grew. Her voice rose. The crowd leaned in, and then something shifted. The prince sat up straighter. Without hesitation, he reached for his own flute, a ceremonial instrument, and joined her. Their music braided together, notes rising and falling in harmony. The courtyard filled with something ancient and powerful. When the last beat faded, silence hung in the air like gold. Then the courtyard exploded with applause, cheers, claps, voices rising. The prince turned to his father and whispered something. The king stood slowly and raised his staff. "My people," he called. "The prince has made his choice." He pointed. "She shall be his bride." The maiden with the talking drum. Before the crowd could erupt again, a shrill voice rang out from the back. "She's a liar," Neka shouted, pushing past stunned onlookers. Her daughters trailed behind, faces pale. "She stole that drum and those clothes. She's not who she pretends to be. She's a servant to nobody." Gasps rippled through the audience. Amora stood frozen. The old fear crept up her spine. The king narrowed his eyes. "Amora," he said, voice firm, "is this true?" Before she could speak, another voice rang out. "It is a lie." The crowd parted. The woman stepped forward. She wore no beads, no finery, only a simple wrapper, but her voice held command, dignity. "I gave her the drum. I gave her the clothes. Her stepmother has treated her like a slave since childhood. I've watched it. So have many others." One by one, village women stood up. "It's true," one said. "We've seen it. We tried to help her. She was beaten, starved, another added. Her mother died in pain, and no one helped. The king turned to Nneka, his face dark with judgment. For lying before the throne, he said coldly, and for cruelty to your husband's daughter, you will serve in this palace for 6 moons, without comfort, without title. You will learn humility in service. Nneka's mouth opened, but no sound came. She sank to her knees, trembling. The crowd roared. The prince stepped down, took Amora's hand. He played with truth, he said softly, and it moved the world. From behind the crowd, Ia appeared, face drawn, shoulders heavy. He approached slowly, then knelt before his daughter. Forgive me, he whispered, for what I allowed, for what I ignored. Amora looked at him. Her heart ached, but it no longer begged. I forgive you, she said, but I will never forget. She turned back toward the palace, the prince by her side. The sun warmed her skin, but it was her own light that led the way. The palace felt like a dream. Silk curtains swayed in the breeze. Musicians played by the fountain. Courtiers in fine garments whispered as Amora passed, their eyes filled with awe. For days, she floated through her new world like someone still half asleep, until the day she found her feet again. It happened in a quiet moment, just before dawn. Amora slipped from her chamber and wandered toward the back gardens. The morning mist clung to the air, thick and silver. She followed the stone path past blooming hibiscus and into a secluded corner where no one ever went. There, beneath a tree she didn't recognize, stood the woman, the one who had guided her, fed her, dressed her, believed in her. Amora froze. Came, she whispered. That woman smiled softly. I told you I would always be watching. Amora stepped forward, her eyes wet already. How can I ever thank you? You saved me. The woman reached out and took her hand. There is something you must know, she said gently. Amora frowned. What is it? The woman exhaled slowly. Don't be afraid. But I am not from the forest. I am not a stranger. I am your mother. Amora. Silence. Amora blinked. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Hefe's eyes shimmered with warmth. Yes, my daughter. I died, but my love refused to sleep. I couldn't rest knowing you were suffering. Amora staggered back, her heart racing. No, no, that can't be. Your grave. My body rests there, Hefe said softly. But my spirit walked beside you. In the fields, in the darkness, in every tear you shed. I heard the beat of your drum. I never left you. Tears burst from Amora's eyes. She fell to her knees. I missed you so much. Hefe knelt with her, wrapping her arms around her child, rocking her gently. You were never alone, she whispered, and now I can finally go. No, Amora clutched her tighter. Don't leave again, please. I need you. Hefe held her face, smiling with infinite tenderness. You don't need me anymore. Look at you. Look how far you've come. But everything I did it for you. No, her mother said. You did it for you. And that is the greatest gift you could have given me. The wind shifted, light warm and golden spread through the clearing. Birds stirred. The morning bloomed. Hefe stood, her form glowing faintly now, edges softening like smoke. I'll always be near, Amora, she said, but not as before. You must live fully, loved fully, and never let your heart forget who you are. Amora sobbed quietly, nodding. I love you, Mama. I love you more, Hefe said. And with a final smile, she turned toward the rising sun and dissolved into the light. Gone, but never lost. 2 days later, the palace filled with drums. This time, they beat not for warning or judgment, but for joy. The wedding was grand. Dancers circled beneath canopies of gold and green. Women sang as they braided amorous hair, weaving stories into every twist. Omoni wore white robes trimmed in sapphire. Amora, radiant in flowing indigo silk, wore coral beads that once belonged to royal queens. When she entered the courtyard, the crowd gasped. There was no trace of the servant girl they had mocked. She walked like the daughter of queens, like the woman her mother always knew she'd become. Obanuju and Ioma stood among the guests, silent, unable to meet her eyes. Nneka, in plain palace robes, served drinks humbly as part of her punishment. Head lowered, she dared not speak, and Iya, her father, stood quietly at the edge of the ceremony, watching his daughter take her place beside the prince. He had tried to speak again, to apologize. Amora had listened. She had not hugged him, but she had said, I forgive you. For me, not for you. Now, As she stood hand in hand with Obina beneath the royal tree, she looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Mama." The wind answered. Amora's drum, once hidden in forest shadows, now sat on a stand of carved ivory. After the vows, when the music paused and the prince gestured to her, she stepped forward and lifted it. The first beat was soft, almost a breath. Then it built. With every rhythm, the courtyard came alive. Her voice soared not just a song, but a call. To love, to hope, to remember. The people wept, danced, held each other. From that day forward, the talking drum no longer carried sorrow. Its voice was joy, pride, home, and so the tale spread. From village to village, mothers sang the story of the girl with the talking drum, who rose from ashes, whose kindness endured, whose mother's love bent the rules of life and death. Children drummed her rhythms on clay pots. Girls painted her name into their beads. Elders told her story by the fire. They did not remember her as a princess. They remembered her as Amora, the girl who was loved so deeply that not even death could keep her mother away. If you watched until the end, comment the word drum, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your family and friends.